Werewolves in swamps, demons in Tanzania, giant snakes in Japan, even humanoid elephants. These are unknown beasts that inhabit the planet. Number 5. The Werewolf of the Swamp. In southeastern Virginia and part of northeastern North Carolina, USA, there is a giant swamp that occupies thousands of acres that are virtually untouched. It is known as the Great Sad Swamp. Its unexplored grounds, full of tangled plants and misleading marshes, are also home to many legends and macabre stories. In its time, the backwater of the Great Sad Swamp served as a refuge for slaves who had escaped from the plantations in Virginia. But today, it is believed to be the refuge of a ruthless monster. It all began on March 20th, 1901. Farmer Edward Smith, who lived near the swamp, had an encounter with a mysterious creature. That night, his 7 hounds were on the alert and followed something through the trees. Only one dog returned, limping on one leg. Smith came out armed with his pistol and came face to face with a 6-foot monster with a long yellow coat all over its body and huge muscles. Smith summoned up his courage and pulled the trigger, but due to corrosion, the revolver did not fire. Even so, he hit the creature, which was throwing itself at him, making it go away. 2 of his dogs had been almost completely devoured, and 4 of them were dead and mutilated. Only one had survived. To this day, from time to time, it is said that there are sightings of a kind of werewolf in the area. Number 4. Demons of the Night in Tanzania. In the Zanzibar archipelago in Tanzania, Africa, something very strange has been happening for a long time. A creature, or a group of creatures, has kept the villagers from going out at night. These beings are known as Popa Bawa, whose literal translation from Swahili means batwing. The creature itself has huge bat wings, is completely black, and has only one eye in the middle of its forehead. In addition, its ears are pointed, it is armed with sharp claws, and it emits a terrible smell of sulfur. Basically, it is a being that feeds on sexual energies, almost always on men. The Popa Bawa visits their victims at night while they sleep. It sits on them and is said to rape them and take pleasure in the suffering. There is a version that says it likes to sit on men until their weight suffocates them and they die. One case in 1971 talks about a Popa Bawa who allegedly possessed a girl in a village. The girl spoke in a male voice and made a sound similar to an engine. But the most terrible thing was that it exuded a strong smell of sulfur. Only with the intervention of a recognized local shaman who, after hours and hours and the sacrifice of a goat, this demon finally left the girl's body. Simultaneously to this fact, in the whole region there had been sightings of these diabolic creatures. Interestingly, they ended up right after the assassination of the president of Zanzibar in 1972. Number 3. Giant snakes of Japan. Snakes have been introduced strongly in practically all cultures, causing a mixture between fascination, respect, and terror. But few civilizations are afraid of them as the Japanese. Since the first settlers arrived in the highlands of Shikoku Island, there have been stories of travelers encountering colossal snakes, but also of dogs or children being completely eaten by them. At the time, it was necessary to hire samurais to take care of these monstrous reptiles. In the more wooded areas, a giant snake called Uwaba-mi or Yamakachi is believed to inhabit. It is also said that Mount Suguri is a man-made pyramid and that within it, King Solomon hid his treasure under the protection of a giant snake. It may be one more story, but there are things that make one doubt. On May 26, 1973, a group of forest workers found a snake as thick as a telephone pole and had shiny black scales. The portion they managed to see in the undergrowth was 15 feet long, but it is estimated that it was actually more than 20 feet long. Could it have been the mythical Yamakachi in charge of protecting King Solomon's treasure? Who knows, but what is certain is that a monster of this size is as frightening as it is dangerous. Day by day, reports of abnormally large snakes continue to arrive throughout the area surrounding Mount Suguri. Number 2. The Mermaid of Brazil. There is a legend that says that in Brazil there is a race of marine humanoids. We could call them mermaids, but their real name is Igpupuyara, which in the indigenous language means the one who lives in the water. The first record dates back to 1583, when the explored Portuguese Fernando Cardim described the Igpupuyara as follows. The males are of great size, but their eyes are hollow. The females have long hair and are very beautiful and like freshwater rivers. But it is an aggressive species, similar to the legends of mermaids, and they kill their prey by clinging to it tightly and driving it into the depths. Number 1. In this position, we have one of the most disturbing and bizarre events of all. For skeptics, all the above positions can be explained as animal species that may have grown too large or simply not been properly discovered or documented until today. But what you're about to hear breaks all those possibilities. In the year 2000, a man named Salvador Guerrero was on the roof of his house in order to observe the sky for UFOs. But what he ended up seeing that afternoon was perhaps more strange. Suddenly, something floating up there caught his attention. At first, he thought it was a UFO, but it was much stranger. Finally, he could see that it was a person standing there in the middle of the air. There were no wings of any kind, no parachute. The person was just standing there, gently turning with his arms outstretched to the side. Salvador Guerrero shared his experience on the internet, which caused more and more of the same reports to appear all over Mexico. Later, there was another sighting by some airline pilots. They were on a commercial route within the country when they saw a small flying man who supposedly accompanied the plane on a stretch of road. They said that he was carrying some sort of backpack with him, and after a few minutes, the humanoid simply flew away in another direction. Another case, on June 17, 2005, witnesses Horacio Roquette was outside with his sister in Lomas de Platero when they both saw a tall humanoid figure crossing the air and looking at them threateningly. In this case, the figure appeared to be perched in a kind of gravity-defying vehicle, emitting a strange red glow with his legs hanging down. The video they took has become one of the most famous pieces of footage of one of Mexico's flying humanoids. Zero Zone – Humanoid Elephants. In the late 1960s, in New Wales, Australia, a man was driving his nephew to a nearby airport in the middle of the night when they heard some strange sounds on the edge of the road. They stopped the car to investigate, thinking it might be a wounded animal. Then they saw it, a bipedal creature but with a thick skin in an elephant's trunk. When the being noticed that it was not alone, it ran away and dived into a pond a few meters away. In 1971, something similar happened when some fishermen saw a similar creature while fishing in Narrabeen. They described it as a very large humanoid with very thick skin in an elephant's trunk. Elephant humanoids have not been the strangest thing that has been seen in this world. There are cases in which a shark octopus, even a plesiosaurus, have been seen. If you are interested in knowing more about this, here I leave the video.